Some of our forefathers believed that man's downfall would come when we forgot the calendar, when we forgot the sacred calendar. That would be the downfall of humanity. And so I've always been fascinated by what the ancients said about how the luminaries present our clocks, our celestial clocks, our spiritual and our solar and our civil calendars. How did the ancients perceive the movement of times? In the Book of Enoch, we're getting into the section called the luminaries. These are the chapters that have to do with the movements of the sun and the stars in our heavens, and a warning that man will forget the sacred counting and movements of the stars, and that will lead to our downfall. So let's get into this section of, as I show as best as possible, how the ancients perceived the movement of the stars, the heavens, the luminaries, and how it impacted life on Earth. Now, I want to make it clear. I feel that I'm a pretty smart guy, and yet every single time I read various books like Jubilees from the Hebrews and the Book of Enoch, which we're going to cover here today in the luminary section, I start to get very confused. And I feel like I'm pretty smart, but astronomy, how things actually move, how the heavens move, and astrology being more like the signs of the stars and the heavens and how planets impacts your consciousness on the earth. All of these things are fascinating to me, but every time I get into it deeply, I'm like, God, it just doesn't make sense, because things don't work perfectly. Time in itself is an illusion. We just arbitrarily set this idea of time, but maybe time is an illusion. And here's the part of the problem. We try the best that we can to keep seasons in sync and months in sync, so that January is in the winter all the time, and July is in the summer all the time, and July is known as a hot month, and January is known as a cold month. And that doesn't work as easily as you think, because our solar, our sun rotation, for example, and the Earth is a 365 and almost a quarter day rotation. Not even exactly 365. So if we have a 365 day calendar, we're still off by about a quarter day every single year, which is why, from my understanding, every 4 years, we have a leap year that has an extra day added into the calendar to make up for the fact that every year we're really off by about a quarter day. Things don't work perfectly. And so calendars have to account for slippage. The fact that if we just continue to do 365 days and it's actually 365 and a quarter days, eventually the whole calendar will slip, and eventually over a period of time, January would end up in the hot part of the year. You'd be like, hey, it's January, it's hotter than hell. That would happen if we didn't have intercalculation, or ways to keep the calendar in sync. And so what we do, modern times, right, is we have the leap year. And every leap year, we add an extra day to the calendar to keep that extra day from slipping and making the whole calendar shift over time. And yes, it gets very confusing. And then the moon is not on a precise 30-day clock. It's actually, 28 and something, or 29 and something. And it's not precise. And yet we try to make the calendars fit a lunar cycle that is not exactly 30 days. So it gets very confusing to try to keep calendars. And then you have this problem. All of this is leading up to the reading that we're going to do today from the Book of Enoch. And by the way, these videos are trying to be designed to be independent, but we are reading the entire Book of Enoch, every single chapter. So the series that you're watching right now, if you go back, I will read every word from the Book of Enoch. And this one is going to be difficult because we're going to read a lot of descriptions in minute detail about how the sun and the moon rotate and when certain things happen. And it's tedious because it's very hard for us to understand, and it's lengthy. But I'm going to do my best to give you a premise and a warm-up for this. So one of the things I wanted to show you real quick on screen is this conference. The conference for the Precession and Ancient Knowledge. It's coming up September 25th through 27th in Newport Beach, California. I wish I could afford to go to this. I can't. I'm not making enough money in YouTube to afford to go all over the place. And even though I'm on the West Coast and this isn't this far away, the conference itself is like $600 to go to. And then I got to get travel. If I had the $600, I probably would figure out the travel and just go. I still might because it's so important to me. But then I got to factor in hotels and all that shit. And by the time you do all that, it's a lot of money we don't have. But I want to say that the guy who kind of is one of the featured people at CPAC is a guy that believes that our solar system is actually in a binary star system, meaning that we actually have two suns that orbit around a common axis in space. And that modern man hasn't been tracking the movements of the stars long enough to figure out that we're in a binary star system. And so the reason why our zodiacs move about in the heavens and all that stuff like that, we are incorrect about why and how it's happening, because modern science hasn't figured out we're in a binary star system, or hasn't completely adopted it. Or so this author says of the book, the lost star of myth and time. That's the name of the book. It's Crediton. I'm not going to put it up on screen. Point being is that check out that book if you want the math. It's a big, heavy math thing. And this guy is always a featured speaker at CPAC. The idea that we're in a binary star system, and we have forgotten what the ancients knew about our solar system. Man's become super smart, and we think we know it all. And maybe that's leading to our downfall. Now, I want to read to you the description, because this is a lot of preface. I get it, a lot of preface. But I want to read to you the description of CPAC this year, because I think it's super interesting. Here you see this nice little graphic where they're showing different yugas of time, according to the Indian tradition, if you will. There's a big, gigantic celestial clock. That's one way of accounting things. The Mayans, the Aztecs, different cultures all accounted the movements of the heavens and the stars in different ways. But listen to this. I want to read this to you before we get into the reading. For most of human history, time was written in the sky. A day was the turning of the earth beneath the heavens. A month followed the moon. A year followed Earth's journey around the sun. Our ancestors spoke of even greater celestial cycles, the yugas, and Plato's great year, measuring not merely hours and seasons, but the rise and fall of ages. Then in 1967, something happened. Science officially changed the definition of the second. No longer would our fundamental unit of time be tied to the motion of the earth or the heavens. Instead, 1 second became what is that number? Is that 9,192,631,770 oscillations inside of a cesium-133 atom? The atomic clock, from what I understand on this chart, actually started in 1955. It was the first cesium atomic clock. But in 1967, science got more and more precise. We're going to do time exactly. We're no longer going to look at the heavens and the motions of the stars. We're going to measure 1 second as 9,192,631,770 oscillations inside a cesium-133 atom. The atomic clock was invented, and we became super smart, and science became our god, perhaps. Modern material science claimed it was an extraordinary achievement in precision, but philosophically, something profound had changed. We moved our clock away from the heavens. That moment captures something telling about our modern age. The ancients looked upward and saw themselves participating in an immense living cosmos. Modern science looked downward, reducing nature to an ever smaller components. While it may have helped us technologically, something was lost in the process. In disconnecting time from the celestial motions, we erased an important part of our history. What if some of the great cycles described by the ancients weren't simply mythology? What if celestial motions influenced not only days and seasons, but civilizations and perhaps consciousness itself? And now we move into the area of astrology. Do the positions of the stars in the heavens and the movements up in there affect consciousness on earth? Is our awakening to spirituality tied to motions in the heaven that are, you need to look upwards and keep that clock, not man-made clock? We're so fucking smart, we made this man. Like, is there a moment which man tried to outsmart the celestial clock, and we decided we were smarter than them, right? That's the million-dollar question. That's one of the questions at the heart of CPAC, 14? I think that's 14. The Conference on Precession and Ancient Knowledge. 19 speakers, 19 different pieces of much larger puzzle, ancient astronomy, archaeology, myth, consciousness, nature, healing, sacred language, subtle energies, and the great year itself. Together we'll ask, and they go on and on and on. So yes, I really want to go to Newport Beach, California and attend this, but the cost is really, really heavy. Let's take a look, by the way, just out of curiosity. Shit, I don't even have the register. $599 is early bird. Every time I click on something. Yeah, $599, $600 for the early bird registration. And that's not even including your Hyatt Regency Newport Beach reservation if you stayed there, even if anyways. I digress. Let's get to the reading. So what we're reading here is First Enoch. And you can see the translation I'm using, the Hermenia translation. I'm gonna do a lot of reading, and I'll do my best to just get through it, because I told you I'd read the entire Book of Enoch with you, and we've done it so far. So while there's a lot of shit in here, and I might have a few asides, a lot of it's just going to be reading large sections of text because it's very, very detailed. I'll stop from time to time to offer some bits of wisdom or questions I have or things I don't understand, because it's complicated even to me. So here we go. Chapters 72 through 81, the Book of the Luminaries. That's where we're going to end up today. Introduction. The rest of this is going to be me reading to you. So if you don't want to hear the Book of Enoch read to you with my commentary, this is for you what you want to check out. But the rest of it is going to be me reading it in its entirety with my commentary. 72:1. The book about the motions of the heavenly luminaries, all as they are in their kinds, their jurisdictions, their time, their names, their origins, and their months, which Uriel, the holy angel who is with me, and who is their leader, showed me. Now remember, Enoch here is being shown in this book by Uriel the movements of the stars. Each one of the archangels have a different purpose. Uriel's job is to keep track of the motions of the heavens. And so and Enoch is recording for man. This is what the book's about. Enoch is recording for man a very precise calendar. Now, I'll tell you this, some of the calendar is lost. We have a really good calendar here that's crazy good in some areas, but it's missing a piece. We don't know. Scholars don't know exactly how Enoch accounted for slippage in the calendar. The calendar is really good on its face, but it needs to account for slippage. And this book doesn't tell us how they accounted for slippage. So, scholars have figured out ways that they probably accounted for the slippage, but it's not specifically mentioned in here. The entire book about them as it is, he showed me, and how every year of the world will be forever until a new creation lasting forever is made. So this is about the way things are today before the new heavens and the new earth get instituted according to Christian Hebrew belief. The law of the sun. So we're going to focus on 3 or 4 major things. The law of the sun, a couple of laws of the moon, and the laws of the stars. The law of the sun starts chapter 72. This is the first law of the luminaries. The luminary called the sun has its emergence through the heavenly gates in the east, and its setting through the western gates of the sky. I saw 6 gates through which the sun emerges, and 6 gates through which the sun sets. The moon rises and sets in those gates, and the leaders of the stars, with the ones they lead, 6 in the east and 6 in the west, all of them, one directly after the other. There are many windows on the right and left of those gates. Right now, we could go on and on and on trying to explain what he's talking about. Focus on the numbers you know. 12 months in a year, 6 months in the first half, 6 months in the last half. Kind of get some ideas in your mind. Try to work out that. Like if there's 12 months, maybe 6 are in the east and 6 are in the west. Is that what it's talking about? Like do the best you can, because it does get confusing and it's going to get really detailed. And I'm going to just read more and talk less because it's to try to explain every little bit of what I think is happening. I'm not that smart. I can't explain it to you if I can't understand it. So I'm just going to read it. The first one to emerge is the great luminary whose name is the sun. Its roundness is like the roundness of the sky. It is entirely filled with fire, which gives light and heat. The wind blows the chariot where it rises, and the sun sets from the sky and goes back through the north in order to reach the east. It is guided so that it enters that gate and gives light in the firmament. This is how it emerges in the first month through the large gate. It emerges through the fourth one of those gates on the side where the sun rises. In that fourth gate from which the sun emerges in the first month, there are 12 open windows from which heat comes out. When they are open at their times, when the sun rises in the sky, it emerges through that fourth gate for 30 mornings. and it accurately goes down in the fourth gate on the west side of the sky. During those days, day becomes longer than day. Day becomes longer than day and night because shorter. Wait, during those days, day becomes longer than day and night becomes shorter than night for 30 days. So you know that during the year, the days get longer up to the solstice, where the day portion is the longest and the night is the shortest. That's the solstice. And then you start going back downwards where it starts to equal out, and it gets to an equinox when both the day and the night are equal portions. And that's what we're talking about here. In weird language, we're talking about how for a quarter, we're moving towards longer and longer days until the day is the longest and the night is the shortest. And then it starts going the opposite direction. It starts going for another quarter of the period of time. It starts getting a little bit shorter and a little bit shorter day and a little bit longer and a little bit longer night until you hit an equinox when they start to equal out. And then we reverse that and we keep going the rest of the year through, right? When the sun rises in the sky, it emerges through that fourth gate for 30 mornings, and it accurately goes down in the fourth gate on the west side of the sky. During those days, day becomes longer than day, and night becomes longer than night for 30 days. On that day, the daytime is 2 units more than the night, 1/9, with the daytime being exactly 10 parts, and the night exactly 8 parts. The sun emerges from the fourth gate and sets through the fourth gate. It returns to the fifth gate in the east for 30 mornings, and it emerges from it and sets through the fifth gate. Then the daytime becomes longer by 2 additional parts. The daytime is 11 parts, while the night decreases and is 7 parts. And again, it's just explaining in a really, really long and detailed way that days are getting longer and nights are getting shorter and vice versa. It returns to the east and enters the sixth gate. It merges and sets through the sixth gate for 31 days and 31 days. So you had a 30-day, a 30-day, and a 31-day. Now, this is going to be an important part of the calendar that I'm trying to explain. In a quarter, three months, there's 30 days, 30 days, and 31 days for a total of 91 days. And then the next quarter is another 30 days, 30 days, and 31 days for a total of 91 days. And then so on and so on, so that you have a 364-day calendar. But wait a minute, our year is 365 and a quarter days. Yes, we'll get to that later. But what I want you to focus on right now, listen to what I want you to, in your, I know I'm all over the place. What I want you to think of in your head is this. A circle is 360 degrees. If you had a circle of 360 degrees, that in a way could represent a calendar, a 360-degree calendar, a 360-day calendar. But the equinoxes and the solstices are 4 additional days. So if you add those 4 additional days, now you've got a 364-day calendar. And that primarily is an easy way of saying what the Enochian calendar is. It's a 364-day calendar. The problem is we got a 365 and a quarter day calendar. So how did they deal with that extra day and a quarter? There had to be some slippage, some accounting, intercalculation. And scholars think it was a week that was added to the calendar. Like we have a leap year that adds 1 day to the calendar every 4 years to account for us being a 1 quarter of a day off. They were a day and a quarter off, and they would slip in a week somewhere, according to what a lot of scholars think. But it's getting over our heads, is it not? Certainly over my head. All right. I'm trying to think where I was at. During that day, the daytime grows longer than the night, with the daytime being double the night. The daytime is 12 parts, while the night grows shorter and is 6 parts. The sun rises so that the daytime becomes shorter and the night longer. The sun returns to the east and enters the sixth gate. It rises from it and sets for 30 days. When the 30 days are complete, daytime decreases 1 part exactly. The daytime is 11 parts and the night 7. The sun emerges from the west, and that sixth gate goes to the east and rises in the fifth gate for 30 mornings. It again sets in the west in the fifth western gate. On that day, the daytime is 2 parts fewer, with the daytime being 10 parts and the night 8 parts. The sun emerges through the fifth gate and sets through the fifth gate in the west. It rises through the fourth gate and because of its sign, in the fourth gate in the east, 31 mornings set in the west. So again, 30 days and 90 and 31 days. So again, we have another quarter being talked about. And yes, it's lengthy, but I told you I'd read the entire thing. So stay with me. On that day, the daytime is equal to the night. It is the same. So we were talking about going from the solstice, where the daytime is longest and the nighttime is shortest. Now we've moved to the equinox, when the time is equal. On that day, the daytime is equal to the night. We're at the equinox of a 1 year calendar. It is the same. The night is 9 parts and the daytime is 9 parts. The sun emerges from the gate and sets in the west. It returns to the east and emerges through the third gate for 30 mornings and sets in the west through the third gate. On that day, the night is longer than the daytime. Night becomes longer than night, and day becomes shorter than day for 30 days. The night is 10 parts exactly, and the daytime's 8 parts. The sun emerges from that third gate and sets through the third gate in the west. It returns to the east and emerges through the second gate in the east for 30 mornings. And the same way it sets through the second gate on the west side of the sky. On that day, the night is 11 parts and the daytime 7 parts. The night emerges on that day from the second gate and sets in the west of the second gate. It returns to the east in the first gate for 31 mornings. So again, 30 days, and 31 days, but now the nights are getting longer. I feel like there's a song in there. Nights are getting longer. Anyways, so now the nights are getting longer and the daytime's getting shorter as we're going into the other half of the calendar. On that day, the night is longer and is double the daytime. The night is 12 parts exactly, and the daytime is 6 parts. So now we've gone to the solstice again, where the night is the longest and the daytime is the shortest. That's the solstice. The winter solstice, the spring solstice, and then the summer solstice and the winter solstice and the spring and fall equinoxes. The sun has completed their chief points of the route. It again goes about on those chief points of its route and enters each gate for 30 mornings, and it sets in the west opposite. On that day, the night decreases in length by a 9th part. That is, 1 part is a night of 11 parts and a daytime of 7 parts. The sun returned and entered the second gate on the east. It returns upon those chief points of its route. For 30 days, it rises and sets. On that day, the night decreases in length relative to the daytime, with the night being 10 parts and the daytime being 8 parts. And on that day, the sun emerges from that gate and sets in the west. It returns to the east and rises through the third gate for 31 mornings. So again, 30 days, and 31 days for another quarter, and sets on the west side of the sky. On that day, the night decreases and is 9 parts with a daytime of 9 parts. Daytime is equal to the light. So now we're at the solstice again. And the year is exactly 364 days. So you've got 3 months of 30 days each. But you've got these extra days. Some days are 31. So you got 30 days, 31 days. That extra day is roughly the equinoxes, and those extra days, those 4 extra days, are the equinoxes and the solstices. The length of the daytime and the night and the shortness of the daytime and the night vary during the course of the sun. For this reason, its course grows longer day by day, and night by night it grows shorter. This is the law and the course of the sun. Its return, when it returns 60 times and emerges. It is the great luminary, which is called the sun forever. This one that emerges is the great luminary and is named after its appearance as the Lord commanded. In this way it emerges, and so it enters. It neither decreases nor rests, but runs day and night. So in other words, they're saying the sun always has the same course. The sun is always the same cycle. Its light is 7 times brighter than that of the moon, but the size of the two is equal. Now, this part is a little bit confusing. Scientifically, from what I understand, the sun is not 7 times brighter than the moon. Now, what scholars believe is it's not actually trying to make that claim. It's not trying to say that if you took the brightness of the moon, the sun is exactly set. That's not what it's trying to say, because that would be way off. The sun is orders, it's like 400 to 500 times, not 7, but like 400 to 500,000 times. Sorry. More bright. And also, the moon doesn't actually shine. The moon just reflects the sun. So the sun's a ball of fire, and the moon light that we see is actually just the sun's light reflecting off the surface of that thing. The moon itself doesn't actually cast light. So there's a lot of technicalities that we understand today. But what it's saying is the sun is 7-fold, meaning it's infinitely brighter than the moon. And the other part important is the size of the two is equal. And this also scientifically is not true, right? The moon and the sun are not the same size. The sun is enormous compared to the moon. But we have a weird phenomena on this planet that our moon is, that our sun is like 400 times bigger than the moon, but also 400 times further away from us than the moon, so that those two phenomena line up and it looks to our human eyes as if they're the same exact size. Now, really, the reason the sun looks the same size as the moon is because it's so fucking far out there. The further out you get, the smaller it gets, and it looks to us like they're the same size. They are not in reality the same size. But what it's saying is the size of them are equal to our human eyes. And in fact, that's why we have an eclipse, right? Because when the moon covers up the sun or whatever, that they're almost perfectly the same size, and it creates that weird phenomena of having the moon go black when the moon's directly in its path. Because it's perfect. It's fucking freakish. The science on how it is that the moon is perfectly the distance from the sun and size comparison to the sun, that when they pass each other, it blacks them out. That's almost freakishly fucking unreal, leading some to believe that it's no chance. Either God made it that way, because that's not chance, or some ancient civilization manufactured the moon and placed it there because the moon creates life on Earth and moves our tides, and maybe the moon is artificially placed there. Whatever the case may be, it's not just random coincidence. Or you can take the scientific explanation. Out of all the billions and billions and billions of ridiculous amounts of stars, this just happens to be the one place where that accident occurred, and that's why life is here, because we're the one place in the known galaxy where that accident occurred. It's just an accident. But this is, and so you take it either way you want. Faith tells you it was created that way. Science says we're just in a cosmic accident, and this is just a place. The only reason we're here is because that accident happened. The law of the phases of the moon. So now we get into the movements of the moon. After this, I saw a second law for the smaller luminary whose name is the moon. And by the way, Enoch's book, according to what I understand from scholars, is a solar calendar, period, for their civil year. But religion may have used the lunar calendar for their sacred year. And so you can have both things happening at once. You can have a calendar where the people say, look, we want July always to be in the summer, and it's when we're going to do certain things, and the harvest is going to come, or the crops are going to start growing in the spring, and we're going to harvest in the fall, and we want those all to be in the same place. That's a civil calendar. For business, we want to know when we're going to bring in the crops, when we're going to do whatever. But religiously, we might not give a shit where we are. We're going to count by the moon, for example, and the moon moves all over the place. The moon falls behind the sun, as this book will tell us. But sacred calendars might follow the moon only. Or you might have a sacred calendar that's a lunisolar calendar that tries to somehow put them together in some weird fashion. Fuck, it's above my head. So let's just keep going with this. Its roundness is like the roundness of the sky, and the wind blows, and its chariot on which it rides, with light being given to its measure. Each month, its emergence and setting change, and its days are like the days of the sun. When its light is evenly distributed over its surface, it is 1/7 the light of the sun. So when you have a full moon, they're saying it's 1/7 the light of the sun, or the sun is 7 times brighter. And again, scientifically, that's not correct, but that may not even be what they're not trying to say an exact science. They're trying to say it's orders of magnitude brighter, the sun is. In this way, it rises with its beginning towards the east, and it emerges on the 13th day, and on that day it is visible. It becomes for you the beginning of the month on the 13th day, when the sun in the gate where the sun emerges. It's half as distant, 1/7 part from the sun. That's in a question mark, so I don't know what that means from the text, from the original. This is an English translation of ancient texts, and I don't know if that was a parenthetical added by the authors or what. And all its disk is empty, with no light except its 7th part, 1/14th part of its light. During the day, it takes on a 7th part of half its light, i.e. 1/14th, and its illuminated section is half of a 7th part. I'm not even going to fucking attempt to try to explain this shit to you. And when I was reading the notes on it, they say scholars and some of that also struggle with the wording and how it's worded, and they can explain mathematically what they think's trying to be. I'm not even going to fucking try to attempt it. I'm just going to read it for you. Because again, as I started to read that scholars are confused about it, like, I'm not a fucking scholar. So if a scholar is confused about it, fuck it, I'm out. I'll do the best I can to explain this to you, but if a scholar has a problem understanding it, then I'm gonna be out. It sets with the sun, and when the sun rises, it rises with it and receives half a part of light. During that night, at the beginning of its day, at the beginning of the moon's day, the moon sets with the sun and is dark that night, 6/7 parts and a half. What the fuck? It rises during that day with a seventh part exactly. It emerges and recedes from the rising of the sun and is bright the rest of its 6/7 parts. Yeah, it's hard reading. But I said I would read all the words, so we're going to keep going. Another law. So that was the first law of the moon. And another law of the moon. Another course and law I saw for it. By that law, it carried out its monthly course. All this Uriel, the holy angel, who is the leader of them all, showed me. Their positions I wrote down as he showed me, and I wrote down their months as they were, and appearance of their light until 15 days were completed. What's 15 days? Half of a 30-day moon cycle is 15 days. It's the full moon. So 15 days roughly is new moon, when there's no visible moon in the sky. That's called a new moon. We at least that's what we call it today. And then there's the full moon, which is 15 days after the new moon. And then it starts to wane and gets small. It crescent wanes and it becomes new moon again when it disappears. And that's the rotation. In 1/7 parts, it completes all of its light in the east and in the west. In certain months, it changes the places of its setting, and in certain months, it goes its own way. During 2 months, it sets with the sun in those 2 middle gates, in the 3rd and the 4th gate. It emerges for 7 days, goes around, and returns again to the gate from which the sun emerges. It completes all its light, recedes from the sun, and enters for 8 days into the 6th gate from which the sun emerges. When the sun emerges from the 4th gate, the moon emerges for the 7 days until it emerges from the 5th. It again returns to the 7 days into the 4th gate and completes all its light. It recedes and enters into the 1st gate for 8 days. It again returns in 7 days into the 4th gate from which the sun emerges. In this way, I saw their positions as the moon rises and the sun sets during those days. And I know that listening to this, if all you're doing is listening to this, not reading along, it's almost impossible to understand what the fuck's going on. What I want you to take away is, if you really view yourself as good at astronomy or even maybe astrology, you might want to check this book out and see. Just take away how detailed it is about the houses and the rotations and the numbering. Because if you're curious about that shit like I am, you might want to pore over it with calendars and math and books like I want to do myself, but I'm not there yet. Now, when 5 years are added up, the total comes to 30 extra days for the sun. What it's basically telling you is that the moon cycle and the sun cycle are not completely in sync. And every 5 years, I think there's an extra moon. But that's what I think. All the days that result for one of those 5 years when completed are 364 days. The extra amount for the sun and stars comes to 6 days for 5 years. 6 extra days come to 30 days, and the moon is 30 days less than the sun and the stars. And they bring about the year precisely, all according to their eternal positions. They come neither early nor late by 1 day, by which they would change the year. Each is exactly 364 days. In 3 years, there are 1,092 days. In 5 years, there are 1,820 days, with the result that in 8 years, there are 2,912. And look, all of those numbers are really important for showing up in biblical texts, I bet. I bet you would find these same kind of numbers. And then when you see those, you're like, if you see any of those numbers appear in biblical texts from the Hebrews, ancient Hebrews or whatever, you might want to say, I've seen that number before. What is it talking about? In 5 years, it is 50 days fewer. In 5 years, there are 1,770 days, with the result that in 8 years, the moon has 2,832 days. For in 8 years, 80 days are lacking. All the days that it lacks after 8 years are 80 days. So what it's telling you is, again, there's a difference of timing. Things slip, and the calendar has to account for this slippage in some way. And we try to do that in various ways. Our calendars are all over the place. Time itself may be just an illusion. Maybe we shouldn't even be counting days the way that we do. Maybe the ancients didn't. Maybe the reason why things are messed up is that we don't think the way that they used to think. That's one of the questions I have. Then the year is correctly completed in accord with their eternal positions and the positions of the sun. They rise from the gate from which it arises and sets for 30 days. And now he looks at the seasons. So we've looked at the moon, we looked at the sun in one course. We looked at two laws of the moon, and now we're going to look at the seasons. We're doing okay on time. The leaders of the heads of the thousands who are over all creation, over all the stars, have to do with those 4 days that are added. They are not separated from their position according to the calculation of the year, and they serve on the 4 days that are not reckoned in the calculation of the year. So what is this saying? I think this is talking about the solstices and the equinoxes. Again, if you have a circle, 360 days of 30-day months and all this with that, you have to account for 4 extra days to get us to 364 days, and those are the solstices and the equinoxes. And now they're going to talk about these. The seasons are divided, right? We have 4 seasons. 4 seasons divided by the solstices and the equinoxes. And so now they're talking about those as if they're leaders. There are beings, there are conscious, intelligent beings in charge of those 4 division markers. It even goes on to tell us that people, human beings, err regarding them, the leaders of the seasons, because those lights truly serve in the position of the world, one in the first gate, one in the third heavenly gate, one in the fourth gate, and one in the sixth gate, and the accuracy of the world is completed in the 364 positions of the world. For Uriel, the angel whom the Lord of glory set over all the heavenly luminaries in the sky and in the world, showed me the sign, the seasons, the year, and the days, so that they may rule the firmament appear above the earth and be leaders of days and nights and sun and moon and stars and all of the serving entities that go around in all the heavenly chariots. And again, serving entities. There's a belief among the ancients that the movements of the stars themselves are governed by actual conscious entities. Are there thinking conscious entities that rule over days, months, seasons, years, epochs? Are there different, when we move into a different era, is it because a different conscious entity is exerting its influence on the earth? Does that explain why human consciousness changes and evolves? Is different rulers, conscious entities, are in charge, and things change when a new leader is in charge? Crazy thinking. 12 gates, windows, and chariots. In the same way Uriel showed me 12 gates open in the disk of the sun's chariot in the sky, from which the rays of the sun come out and from which its heat comes out upon the earth when they are opened at the time stipulated for them. The same is the case when the 12 gates are opened in the sky on the boundaries of the earth, from which the sun, the moon, the stars, and all the works of the sky emerge on east and on the west. There are many windows opened on the left and the right, each window at its time emits heat like the gates from which the stars emerge as he ordered them, and in which they set according to their number. I saw chariots in the sky traveling in the world above, those gates in which the gates that do not set revolve. One is larger than all of them, and it's the one that encircles the whole world. By the way, there are stars that don't revolve the same way others. Some stars in our heavens appear to come up on the east and go away on the west, and you see them move across the sky. But some of them just stay circling right where they are above us because of various things about precession and how far away we are, and the North Pole, South Pole. The stars, the fixed stars and stars that just rotate this way versus stars that go completely around, all of that shit gets very confusing. But if you're into astrology and astronomy, both, we're going to have to try to learn about those more. And I'm going to try to learn about them more as much as I can, as my feeble mind can understand. The 12 winds and their gates. At the boundaries of the earth, I saw 12 gates open for all of the winds from which the winds emerge and blow on the earth. 3 of them are open in front of the sky, 3 on the west, 3 on the right of the sky, and 3 on the left. The first 3 are towards the east, 3 towards the north, and 3 after these are on the left or towards the south, and the 3 on the west. Through 4 of them emerge winds of blessing and peace, but from those other 8 winds of punishment emerge. When they are sent, they bring devastation to the entire earth and the water on it and all that live on it and all that are in the water and on the land. So it sounds like 4 months of the year are primo, and then everything else turns to go to shit 8 months of the year. That's kind of what it sounds like to me. The first wind, whose name is Eastern, emerges from those gates through the first gate, which is on the east, and inclines towards the south. From it, there emerge devastation, drought, heat, and destruction. Through the second gate, the middle one, there emerges a direct way, rain, fruitfulness, prosperity, dew. Through the third gate, which is to the north, emerges cold and drought. From those, the winds towards the south emerge from 3 gates. First, through the first gate that inclines towards the east, a hot wind emerges. Through the middle gate next to it, there emerge a fragrant aroma, dew, rain, prosperity, and life. Through the third gate that is towards the west, there emerge dew, rain, locust, and destruction. From these, the winds that are towards the north, those whose name is Sea, and which emerge from the seventh gate that is towards the southeast, there emerge from it dew, rain, locust, and destruction. From the middle gate in the direct way, there emerges life, rain, dew, and through the third gate that is towards the west, inclining to the north, there emerges mist, hail, snow, rain, dew, and locust. Following these, there are 4 winds, which are towards the west. As for the first gate towards the north, from it emerge dew, hail, cold, snow, frost. From the middle gate, there emerge dew, rain, prosperity, and blessing. From the first gate, or from the last gate that is towards the south, emerge drought, destruction, burning, and devastation. The 12 gates of the 4 quarters of the sky are completed. All their laws and all their punishment and all their prosperity, I've shown to you everything, my son Methuselah. So Enoch is passing along the movements of the heavens as angels are showing him how things work and how seasons work and how everything's supposed to go. And Enoch is told to take this knowledge back down to his son on earth, Methuselah. And now we're rushing to the end of the luminaries. And you're like, thank God. Or is that like wrong to say when we're, anyways, the 4 quarters of the earth and 7 mountains and 7 rivers. The first quarter is called Eastern because it is the first, and the second is called South because there the Most High will descend, and especially there the ones who is blessed forever will descend. The name of the quarter on the west is diminished because there all the heavenly luminaries diminish and go down. The 4th quarter, whose name is North, is divided into 3 parts. One of them is the place where people live. The second is for the seas, the deep forests, the deeps, the forests, the rivers, the darkness, the mist, and the other part is for the garden of righteousness. I saw 7 lofty mountains, mountains, which are higher than all the mountains on earth. From them snow emerges, and days, seasons, and years pass by. I saw 7 rivers on the earth, larger than all the rivers. One of them comes from the west, and it pours its water into the great sea. 2 of them come from the north to the sea and pour their water into the Euphrates Sea on the east. The remaining 4 emerge on the north side towards their sea, 2 into the Euphrates Sea, and 2 into the great sea where they empty themselves, but some say into the wilderness. I saw 7 large islands in the sea and on the land, 5 on the land and 2 in the Euphrates Sea. I'm not going to try to explain all that shit to you. I'm just not. And again, I understand this stuff is tedious. I want to read the entire book to you, so I'm doing so. It is difficult. I get it. The sun, the moon, and the waxing and waning of the moon, chapter 78. The names of the sun. Now, this is interesting. There's names for the sun and there's names for the moon. I find that interesting. The names of the sun are, first, Aries, and the second is Tomas. The moon has 4 names. The first is Asanya, the second is Abla, the third Benes, and the 4th Era. These are the 2 great luminaries. Their roundness is like the roundness of the sky, and their size of the 2 of them is the same. We've covered that before. The sun and the moon appear to be about the same size to the naked eye. In the disk of the sun, there are 7 parts of light added to it beyond what the moon has. So in other words, it's 7-fold brighter than the moon. It's the same kind of thing I said before. A specific amount is placed in the moon. The reflection of the sun is in the moon until the 7th part of the sun passes over. They set and enter the gates of the west and go around the north and emerge through the gates of the east and the firmament. When the moon rises, it is visible in the sky with 1/2 of a seventh part of all its light. On the 14th, it completes its light. 15 parts of light are placed in it until its light is completed in the 15 days for the sun of the year, for the sign of the year. It is in 15 parts while the moon grows by units of 1/2 of a seventh part. When it is waning, on the first day, it decreases to 14 parts of its light. And on the next day, it decreases to 13 parts of its light. On the third, it decreases to 12. On the fourth, to 11 parts. On the fifth, it decreases to 10 parts. On the sixth, it decreases to 9 parts. On the seventh, it decreases to 8 parts. On the eighth, it decreases to 7 parts. On the ninth, it decreases to 6 parts. On the 10th, it decreases to 5 parts. On the 11th, it decreases to 4 parts. On the 12th, it decreases to 3. On the 13th, it decreases to 2. And on the 14th, it decreases to 1/2 of a seventh part of its light. And the 15th day, the entire remainder is exhausted. Long way of saying it's a 30-day cycle. During certain months, the moon has 29 days and sometimes 28. That was a line from the Book of Enoch. During certain months, the moon has 29 days and sometimes 28, because it's not an exact number. Uriel showed me another law regarding when the light is placed in the moon and from where it is placed in the moon from the sun. The entire time the moon progresses, it adds its light when facing the sun until in 14 days, its light is complete. By the way, earlier when it said the sun is 7 times brightness of they're also talking, I didn't even catch this until now. When they're saying the sun is 7 times brighter than the moon, they're also talking about how the sun shows up in 1/7 increments across the moon till all 7 sevenths or a full moon appears. So maybe that's where the 7 times brighter than the sun comes from. Anyways, on the first day, it is called the new moon because on that day, the light rises on it. It is complete precisely on the day that the sun sets in the west and it rises from the east during the night, and the moon shines during the entire night until the sun rises opposite and the moon is seen opposite the sun. From the place where the light comes to the moon, from there it again decreases until all the light is exhausted. So again, new moon to full moon and back to new moon again. A lunar day passes and its disk remains empty without light. So for a full day, it's not visible. It fashions 3 months of 30 days in its time. When it affects its decrease, it fashions 3 months of 29 days each, during which it brings about its decrease in the first time period and in the first gate in 177 days. When it goes out, it appears for 3 months. In each 30 days and 3 months, it appears each with 29 days. I'm not going to try to explain all that shit. We're going to rush to the end so that we get this done, and we'll move on to some of the shit that I can explain. But the whole subject of calendars fascinates the living piss out of me. I just wish I was smarter and had more time in my life. And then once I figured it out, I hope that I spent that time wisely and it gives a shit. Or if I just went, okay, great, I spent the last year figuring out how the calendar works, but who gives a fuck? Like that would be horrible. At night, it appears every 20 days like a man, and at daytime like the sky, because there is nothing else in it except its light. And now we go to a summary of chapter 79. Now, my son, I have shown you everything in the law of all the stars in the sky is complete. He showed me all their law for each day, each time in its jurisdiction, every year its emergence, the command every month and every year, the decrement of the moon, which is accomplished in the 6th gate, because in the 6th gate its light is completed, and from it comes the beginning of the decrement, which is accomplished in the 1st gate at its time until 177 days are completed. By the law of the week, 25 weeks and 2 days. It falls behind the sun, and in relation to the law of the stars, 5 days exactly in one period, and when this place which you see is completed. This is the appearance and likeness of each luminary that Uriel, the great angel, who is their leader, showed me. And then Uriel's summary and prediction of human sin and its consequences. At that time, Uriel, the angel, responded to me and said, I have now shown you everything, Enoch, and I have revealed everything to you so that you may see this sun and this moon, and those who lead the stars of the sky and all who turn them, their works and their times and their emergences. In the days of the sinners, the rain seasons will grow longer, their seed will become laid on the land and in their fields. Everything on earth will change and will not appear at their times. The rain will be withered, the sky will stand still. And those times the fruit of the earth will be late and not grow at its normal time, and the fruit of the trees will not be withered at its normal time. The sun will change its order and will not appear at its normal time. At that time it will appear in the night in the sky and will arrive at the edge of the great chariot in the west and will shine very much more brightly than its normal light. Many heads of the stars will stray from the command and will change their ways and actions and will not appear at the times prescribed for them. The entire law of the stars will be closed to the sinners, and the thoughts of those on earth will err regarding them. So it's talking about a time when there will be a time in the future when all of this celestial clock will stop working the way we expect it to work. Is that because man changed our calendars and we fucked it up? Or because some great cosmic event is coming that we don't know about that they're predicting? That things are going to get knocked out of rotation and things won't be the way we see them now? Is it a prediction of a cataclysm coming on Earth? I don't know. We're almost done. They will turn back from all their ways, will err, and will take them to be gods. So evil will multiply against them, and punishment will come upon them to destroy them all. The comment up here about they will take them to be gods is, I feel like a prediction that there was a time when people would look to the moon and the stars and view them as gods themselves. But I've now lost that point, so I didn't even highlight it. Let's just continue. Enoch views the heavenly tablets and returns to earth. He said to me, Enoch, look at these heavenly tablets, read what is written on them, and understand each and every item. I looked at everything on the heavenly tablets, read everything that was written, and I understood everything. I read the book, all the actions of the people and all the humans who will be on the earth for the generations of the world. And from that time forward, I blessed the great Lord, the King of glory forever, as he had made every work of the world. I praised the Lord because of his patience. I blessed him on account of humanity. Afterwards, I said, blessed is the one who dies righteous and good. Regarding him, no book of wickedness has been written and no day of judgment. So somewhere in the heavens is an idea that all of your sins are recorded. All your wickedness is recorded, and that on the day of judgment, your sins will be brought forward. That was a teaching I learned in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Every bad thing you're being done is being recorded in a book up in heaven. And someday when you come judgment day, if you didn't ask for the atoning blood of Jesus, they'll open up this book and say, here's all the sins you've committed, and you are judged to eternal damnation because it's in this book. But I'll wipe the book clean and erase all your sins if you just accept Jesus. That's a Christian interpretation, a Seventh-day Adventist interpretation, and I digress. Those 7 holy ones brought me and set me on earth in front of the gates to my house. And they said to me, tell everything to your son Methuselah and show all your children that no human is righteous before the Lord, for he created them. And we will leave you with your son for 1 year until you receive another order to teach your children and write for them. And you will testify to all your children in the 2nd year. They will take you from them. So what it sounds like to me is the angels have taken Enoch from earth up into heaven and shown him all the secrets of the heavens, and then said, you got 1 year to go back down to earth and impart this wisdom we've given you to your son Methuselah, and then you're coming back up here again. May your heart be strong, because the good will inform the good and of righteous, and the righteous will rejoice with the righteous, and they will greet each other. But the sinner will die with the sinner, and the apostate will drown with the apostate. Those who do what is right will die. Those who do what is right will die because of the actions of the people, and will be gathered up because of the deeds of the wicked. At that time, they finished speaking with me, and I went to my people, blessing the Lord of the world. And now Enoch's instructions, we're almost done. We're going to make it in 1 hour. This is great. Now, and so Enoch goes to his son Methuselah. So now he's back down on earth after receiving all this heavenly instruction and wisdom. Now, my son Methuselah, I am telling you all these things, and I am writing them down. I have revealed all of them to you and have given you the books about all these things, my son. Keep the books written by you, your fathers, so that you may give it to the generations of the world. Wisdom I have given to you and your children, and those will be your children, so that they might give this wisdom, which is beyond their thought, to the children to their children for generations. So was the book of Enoch given to Methuselah and told to keep it for humanity's sake? And to this day, the book of Enoch has survived. Is that prophetic? Is that divine intervention? Has the book survived because it was destined to survive? Those who understand will not sleep and will listen with their ear to learn this wisdom. So those who understand will not sleep and will listen with their ear to learn this wisdom. It will be more pleasing to them than fine food to those who eat. So we should be, according to this, reading this book and understanding this book and trying to really figure it out, because this is the heavenly clock revealed to man. Right and wrong, and the calendrical practice and assertion of the truth of Enoch's account. Blessed are all the righteous, all the blessed who will walk in the way of righteousness and have no sin, like the sinners, and numbering all the days, and sun travels in the sky through the gates, entering and emerging for 30 days from the lands, the heads of thousands, and the orders of the stars, with the 4 additional ones that divide those seasons between the 4 parts of the year, that lead them and enter their 4 days. People err regarding them and do not calculate them in the number of their entire year, because they err regarding them and people do not understand them precisely. For they belong. So again, this is telling you, people are going to forget the calendar. People are going to forget the sacred calendar, and that's going to lead to our downfall. We're going to be in error because we have forgotten this calendar. For they belong in the reckoning of the year and are indeed recorded forever. One is the first gate, one in the third, one in the fourth, and one in the sixth. This is thus a year of 364 days is completed. The account about it is true, and its calculation is precisely recorded, because the luminaries and the months, the festivals, the years, and the days he showed me, and Uriel, to whom the Lord of the entire creation gave orders for me regarding the host of heaven, breathed on me. He has power in heaven over night and day to make light appear over humanity, the sun, the moon, the stars, all the heavenly powers which revolve in their circuits. And now we go to the last section, I think, the law of the stars, their leaders in the 4 seasons. This is the law of the stars, which set in their place at their times, at their set times and their months. These are the names of those who lead them, who keep them watch so that they enter their times, who lead them in their places, in their order, in their times, in their months, and in their jurisdictions, and in their positions. There are 4 leaders who divide the 4 parts of the year. So these are your equinoxes and your solstices, your 4 seasons. And there's leaders who have other beings below them, perhaps the months. So the 4 leaders who divide the 4 parts of the year enter the first, and after them come the 12 leaders of the orders who divide the months. So there's 4 seasons, 12 months, and the 360 heads of the thousands who separate the days, and the 4 additional ones with them are the leaders who separate the 4 parts of the year. So again, 360 days plus the 4-part leaders, that's 364 days of the year. As for these heads of thousands between leader and leader, one is added behind the position, and their leaders make a division. These are the names of the leaders who separate the 4 fixed parts of the year: Milkiel, Helamelech, Maliliel, and Narl. Yeah, maybe I slaughtered that. The names of those whom lead are Anurniel, Iasiel, and Elomiel. These 3 follow the leaders of the orders, and the ones follow the other leaders of the orders, who follow those leaders of the positions, who separate the 4 parts of the year. And yes, there's a lot of names for me to read, and I'm going to slaughter the hell out of them, but let's see if we can finish this chapter up on time. At the beginning of the year, Melchiel, rises first and rules the one called the southern sun. All the days that fall within the period that he rules are 91 days. Remember, there's 91 days in a quarter. These are the signs of the days that are to be seen on the earth during the days of his rule: sweat, heat, and care. All the trees bear fruit, and leaves come out of their trees. There is a harvest of wheat, roses, and all the flowers that bloom in the field, but the winter trees are dried up. These are the names of the leaders who are beneath them: Barakel, Zerubbabel, and another head of the thousands who's added has the name of Haluyaseph. There you go. His days of rule are completed. A second leader after him is Halamalelkalal, who is named the bright sun. All the days of his light are 91 days. These are the signs of the days on the earth: heat, drought, trees bearing their ripe fruit and yielding all their fruit ripe and ready. The sheep mate and become pregnant. People gather all the fruit of the earth and everything in the fields and the wine press. It happens during the days of his rule. These are the names of the orders of the leaders of the heads of thousands: Gadiel, Kiel, and Hiel. The names of those who added to them as a head of thousands is Asphiel, and the days of his rule are completed. And that is the end of a very, very, very difficult chapter on the luminaries. And now we are going to finish, not now, but next, I'm going to page through all this shit. The last section of the Book of Enoch, is divided, I think, into 4 sections, is Enoch's dream visions. If we look at the table of contents, Enoch's dream visions, and then we have a narrative bridge, and then some other things. And I think these are extra little books, I think. But they actually are, maybe they're part of this. I can't, because I remember the birth of Noah very clearly. But anyways, we're approaching the end of the Book of Enoch. We're 71% through the book. I realize this was extremely tedious. Most of the last half of this was just for the people who say, look, I want to hear it all one time through at least. So you did hear it. My reading probably sucks. My pronunciation sucks more. But let me know if you're here for the long haul, if you're going to listen to the whole thing, or whether I'm wasting my breath, my time, and my energy. I appreciate you spending time with me, and have a good one.